So we closed two deals late in the year. And so we said, okay, well, let's let the dust settle. Let's wrap our head around this thing. And then I know late last year you started looking for deals. And when you start looking for deals, it's not like you're analyzing a deal a week. It's like you're pounding it pretty hard. And
Yeah.
so we already uncovered some good opportunity. But one of the things that's relatively new, maybe 3 or so, 4, maybe even since the new year, is debt. That debt is stowing up. What's going on in the debt world right now? Because that's really interesting.
Yeah. So this is a really good topic, I think, because it's changed so much from last year, even into now. What we're starting to see is last year we had like no bridge debt at all that existed,
Right.
or very few people, or if it did exist, it was very unattractive.
It went away
So we're
like
starting,
overnight. It was amazing.
yeah, it's just gone. So now, so that like obviously changes some things and how you're looking for deals, what you're trying to find and put under contract, and a lot of your game plan. Because one of the biggest components of getting into a deal is paying attention to the debt. That's such a large part of the capital stack. And so the bridge debt market opened back up fairly recently, and we're getting some attractive stuff coming in. So I've had a few quotes come in right now, and we're looking up, like, it's not quite as attractive as it was pre-pandemic, but we're able to get 75% LTC, which is pretty good. I think before it went up to 8, it was up to 80. So you got 75%. So they'll cover some CapEx. They'll cover some of your soft costs. They're going to cover, up to 75% leverage on there. And then you're getting interest rates in the low to high 4s typically, which is actually really good for bridge debt. And then of course, full term IO, or the 3 years IO on that stuff. And so we're seeing bridge lenders, especially on the larger debt pieces, starting to become competitive again. And there's new products and actually new firms that are coming on the market. Last year wiped out a bunch of existing originators, which is kind of nuts. Like even one that we have a loan with, they're gone. And there's new ones popping in that they're willing to lend and be competitive. So that's pretty cool.
I think debt is the one there's a short window right now where if you use the right debt, you can actually pay more and you can be more competitive because of that. Because if you're not financing, let's say, part of the construction, your soft cost, like you just said, then you can't pay as much because you have to raise more equity. And that's kind of what we've had to do because there was no alternative. And so because of some of the relationships that we have with lenders, we now have access to some of this newer debt. Therefore, we can be a little more competitive. I think the debt is very important. The other thing that's important that you mentioned is thinking with the exit in mind. And many years ago, we're like, yeah, let's lock in a 12-year interest loan, like lock it in, and rip the knob off, And then we're like,
Right.
well, this is a great environment. I might want to sell. Nah, you can't sell because you have like a $750,000 prepayment penalty. We're like, no, So
Guys,
we're paying a lot of attention to the exit now.
the operation doesn't always go 100% as planned. And then what? So you just locked yourself in. There's an inherent risk on staying into fixed rate debt. Maybe you've evolved. Maybe your business evolved. 4 years later, you're not the same person you are today. And maybe you have other goals. And so part of it is that you get a crazy offer and you're like, I want to get out of this thing and make all my investors happy. You want to have that ability. And so we pay a lot of attention to that, at least, with the deals that we do, because I think that's important. And you'll see it over and over again that, some deals you want to hold on to forever. And some you're like, you know what, it's the right time to get out, and you want to have that ability.
Hey, and before you leave, make sure you subscribe to my channel below. We put out videos every single week and you don't want to miss it. Also, if you haven't done so already, grab my free ebook here, okay? It's a secret to raising money to buy your first apartment building deal. It's a good one, so grab that. And hey, check out another video.